The shithead son of a prominent Russian gangster breaks into a man's house, kills his dog, and steals his car. What at first appears to be nothing more than an impulsive crime turns into the bane of the entire criminal underground when the Russian gangster learns who the victim was. Now the world's most feared assassin has come out of retirement and hungers for vengeance in the 2014 surprise action hit John Wick. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
I'm Caleb J.
And this is Filmgazm. Welcome to the Filmgazm podcast. In honor of the recent release of the franchise's fourth installment and in memory of character actor Lance Reddick, we felt it was finally time to discuss a modern action classic, the original John Wick, the film that revitalized Keanu Reeves' career and put stuntmen behind the camera, resulting in a realistic, well-paced, and beautifully shot action franchise with no weak links. 4 epic films, which we will rank at the end of the episode. You never see that, especially in an action franchise. It's always one. There's always like a Too Fast, Too Furious, or Lethal Weapon 3. There's always something. But in this case, you got 4 flawless movies.
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot. Even Reeves' other big movie series, The Matrix, I only like the first movie. After that, the sequels can go suck it. They all got just like progressively worse, especially that most recent one. But this is a rare case where, yeah, it's one of the rare franchises. I know we've talked about before, but like those rare franchises that have like consistently good installments. Like, I know we talked about like Evil Dead. I'd argue Scream could be put on that list. I'm not the biggest fan of 3, but I still don't hate it. But yeah, John Wick is the one that it's in a very rare, very, very rare group of like Evil Dead type where I don't even really, it's hard for me to say what's the least favorite because I like every single one a lot. And I'm sure we'll get into it, but I mean, you can see the fact that like, the first film came out of nowhere, almost when I'm sure we'll get into it, so I don't want to spoil too much of the development there, but one little tidbit, was that supposed to be at the time direct to video, so it would be a streaming release. And whatever happened, they decided theatrical, and like it became what it is now. This like action movie juggernaut that, for all intents and purposes, got its quote unquote final installment in the main franchise before they do all these spinoffs that they've announced that are coming out. So like it's neat. This does not happen often. It's not a franchise we thought we were going to get, and yet it has consistently. And even if they didn't have a plan for sequels with that first film, how they pulled off without it seeming like they didn't is impressive. The world building, the action, the characters just kept getting better with each installment, and you don't see that when it's very clear that they only had a plan for the first film and not for sequels, and yet somehow with each one it felt flawless and coherent and just seamless with what they were doing.
Well, and it gets a little bit bigger each time. Like the world, we're gradually introduced to the world of the High Table, this underground assassin hierarchy that kind of dictates everything in the world of these people. And in the first movie, it's just, ex-Russian gangster hitman goes back into the Russian underground. I love how, looking back, like with part 4 and just thinking like, if that little fucker had killed that dog, the body count of the underground wouldn't be looking to replenish their ranks at this point, because it really is just, you can trace it all back to that little asshole. If John Wick had just gone to a different gas station,
right. None of this would have ever happened. He would have been fine, and they wouldn't have had to feel the Baba Yaga coming out of retirement and hunting them all down.
Tarasov family would be prominent in New York. Santino, I'm sure, would be dueling for his sister's seat at the table. Like, so many buildings wouldn't be gone, destroyed. Built hundreds of heads wouldn't have exploded.
Scott Adkins in a fat suit would have still been in charge of whatever the fuck he was in charge of.
That was so strange. I can't believe they managed to pull that off.
And still haven't been able to do his moves.
That was impressive. Doing those in a fat suit, like, I mean, it was incredibly unrealistic because look, there's no like 500-pound dude who can do that. But
No, but it was awesome to watch,
yeah,
especially with that damn accent he had going on, Mr. Vic.
so strange. Uh, but it started here with a film that was insanely close to being canceled outright, like so close. And we're gonna get into that. It's like this movie almost didn't happen, and I'm so glad it did. Uh, but first, do you remember the first time you saw John Wick? Like what you felt when you first saw this movie?
Yeah, I didn't want to watch the fucking movie. Straight up. Look, I had just watched 47 Ronin. Keanu Reeves, like we talked about at the time of his career, wasn't exactly producing a lot of hits. I have nothing against the man. I've never had anything against Keanu Reeves. Like many people, I love the guy. He's nice guy, all that good stuff. But movies wise, I was like, he's not coming out with a lot of stuff I really enjoy. And I remember you texted me, you're like, dude, you gotta check out that John Wick movie. And I was like, no. And I know you were really put, you were like, you gotta check it out. I was like, all right, whatever. My mother, before my family went down the hole they went down recently, or recently by a couple of years, not going to get into that on the podcast, but back then had a humongous, I mean the hugest crush on that man. And she was digging the long hair beard look that he was doing in his older age. So she came up to me shortly after I got the text about, when you saw it, and she's like, hey, there's that new Keanu Reeves movie that looks pretty good, John Wick. And I was like, oh my fucking God. I was like, she's like, I'll pay for it. And I was like, okay, sure. You know what? I'm not paying for it, but it's going to probably be a shit fest. Let's go. And I'm telling you, I had like zero faith in this movie. When you go watch it, theaters barely packed, or barely even people in it. And man, by the end of that movie, and it's playing, by the end of the movie, I remember I turned around, I was like, that was awesome. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, we just watched we talked about the whole ride home. I was telling my fucking dad about the movie. I'm like, Dad, you got to watch this fucking movie. Telling my siblings about it. Like, we ended up like buying it as soon as it came out and watched it. I bought my own copy because I'm like, oh, I want my own copy. And like, I have seen the film so many times. I champion this film now. I am constantly like, oh, you haven't seen John Wick? All right, sit down. We're watching John Wick. Like, it is. I got Josh because Josh hadn't seen it by the time we became friends. I was like, dude, you have to watch this. Glad I did, because sure enough, he got so into it that we ended up watching the newest one opening night this past Thursday. So that, yeah, I went in with the lowest expectations when this film first came out because of just where Kanye Reeves was at in his career at that point, and walked away the hugest fan, and just what this film has done for American action cinema in particular, because I do think American action cinema was severely fucking lacking in quality. What this did to reinvigorate it and show you what you can pull off if you just gave a shit and actually kind of stop being what we like to be ignorant of other cultures, and actually look at what other countries are doing with their action, like The Raid. And obviously they put a lot of the greats in these films with Donnie Yen and Tony Jaa, and the man who played Scorpion in the recent Mortal Kombat's in the new movie, and having the Raid guys be in the third one. Like, they're taking these guys that are like huge hits in our countries and putting them in this and showing off their influences. And it's just, yeah, I'm so glad I went ahead and gave the first film a shot, because I fucking love that movie and I love this series now.
I love Tony Jaa too, but he did not actually make it into the John Wick franchise.
He didn't make it. I know. I'm saying influence. I know Tony Jaa was an influence. I was always hoping he'd pop up in one, but
he would fit there perfectly. He really would. Yeah,
I'm much rather him in this than a fucking Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, like, I believe Keanu Reeves might be able to kick his ass. I don't believe Paul Walker could have in the slightest.
No.
Yeah, I remember this movie. I saw like a TV trailer for it, which did not do the movie justice. They tried to brand it as like a new Taken, and I was like, I got nothing going on. All right, let's go. So my mom and I went and saw John Wick, and we were both just kind of like, we're bored on a Saturday. Let's go to the movies. And we were just like, within 5 minutes, we were hooked. Just the concept, the idea of, this guy lost everything, but he got out, and now he's been dragged back in. And the idea of it being not like, they didn't kill his family, like they killed his dog. Like it was new, it was different. And just the buildup of this guy of like, the Russian mob is afraid of him. Like, who is this guy? What did he do? What are those gold coins? Holy shit. Like, it really pulls you in so quickly and keeps you there. And I couldn't look away. I think I blinked like through the whole damn movie. I was just like, holy shit. This is amazing.
Dude, the first action scene, I'm just going, what the fuck?
Yeah, just the whole idea of the Continental, this like assassin hotel where no one is allowed to kill anybody. It's like neutral space. The whole, underground currency with the coins, the cleaner being the warriors come out and play a guy. Like there's so many little things about this world that we get to see the first time in this one that just keep you thinking. It's great.
One thing I want to talk about, you brought up, is the how they talk about who is this guy. This movie to this day, when it comes to action, has the best. I'm not saying one of, I'm saying the best. Damn it, the best character introduction hype in any action film. Come at me on anyone who wants to challenge me on that. This one has the best. From how they react when they find out John Wick's back in the game, and what he did is some of the most flawless form of character building I've ever witnessed in a film. How other people who aren't afraid of him are like, oh, John Wick, like they're impressed to see him back. Like it is fucking flawless. Dude, so many scenes of like, when, Leguizamo gets a phone call and he's like, I heard you struck my son. And without even being remotely scared, he goes, well, sir, he's killed John Wick's dog and stole his car. And he goes, oh, and he hangs up, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy?
We are going to talk about all of those scenes for sure later because they are going to feature heavily in my awards. But you are 100% right. The character introduction and the character building of John Wick is the greatest like introduction of an action hero. Well, action lead. I'm not going to say hero. Action lead is John Wick's a monster. He's just better than the rest of these monsters. He's got a code. But yeah, it's brilliant. Just descending the stairs as Vigo's telling the story of how he knew John Wick. Oh. The sledgehammer hitting the concrete with every enunciation of Vigo's words. Yosef and the car insurance guy just looking at as scared as hell. And you're just like, what has happened here?
Yes. Oh, dude, that when all in the lines, the fucking nobody is John Wick. You're like, what the fuck? Who is this guy?
When Yosef's like, I'm gonna make this right, and Vigo holds him like, son, you're gonna die. Just holding him like, you ruined us. You destroyed our family.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's like, there is nowhere you can hide. He will find you. And he's like, he's not the Baba, the boogie. No, he's this guy you send to kill the fucking boogeyman. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, I love the whole franchise. This movie though is special. Like this first one is so it's lean and mean. It's like an hour 40. It's like super gives you everything you need. There's no fat. And it's so rewatchable. It's like as its own entity. I mean, it's great, connected to the franchise, but you could just watch this one and have a totally complete fun story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God, it's so God. I'm just thinking about it now, like those scenes. I was just quoting it as I was watching it. I
want to watch it again right now.
Yeah, I can't. A lady I've been talking to, I was texting her while I was watching it, and she was like, "Oh, I haven't seen that." I was like, "Do you like action movies and Keanu Reeves?" She's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Well, I know what I'm doing one day then." But yeah, I like when in that scene his son's like, I can fix this, dad, I can do this, and he just looks at you and goes, have you not been listening to a fucking word I've been saying?
It's like, yeah,
it's nothing you can do.
It's so good. Yeah, because the new blood's gonna be like, no, he's just some asshole, some old guy with a dog. Like what? But all the old blood is like, yeah, you're a dead man walking. You destroyed the Russian mob with this act. You did it. Like, we have no power anymore. We're gonna die, all of us. And you did it because you wanted a car.
Yeah. Like, God, I love it. When he calls him, he's like, John, let's be civil. And I love when he hangs up on him and fucking mayhem, as I like to call him, because the fucking commercials. Uh, he's like, "What'd he say? Enough."
Just I love the, he picks up the phone, he lets Vigo, he waits until Vigo begs and then he hangs up. Let us not
Yes.
resort to our baser instincts and handle this like civilized men. Click. Oh,
Nope.
no mulligans.
You unleash the beast, and he is after you now.
The scariest motherfucker in the room is the guy who doesn't say a word. He
Yeah.
just, in his eyes what he's going to do. And this movie, John does not have a lot of dialogue in this movie. It's all actions. It's all the way he presents himself, the way people react to him, and it always works.
Yeah, I would say he has the most dialogue in this film compared to the sequels. But I also think I always view the sequels as him becoming more of John Wick. Like each sequel is becoming more and more of like the guy that's been built up. Which is why he doesn't have as much dialogue as the films progress, because he is getting that focus and what we've been talking about for so long. But I'll get more into it. I got a lot to say about Keanu Reeves, and like in this case, me defending a lot of his acting choices and why I think he's actually phenomenal in all 4 fucking films.
Yeah, 100%. But first, my question to you. So, of everybody I know, I feel like you have more emotional investment in this franchise than anybody I know. So, I feel like you've seen these.
Yes, I was about to say, are you saying this because I have a dog?
Well, I guess that might be it. But you've seen these a lot, so you're familiar with all of these films. So I'm curious, what do you think is the best stunt that they pulled off in this franchise?
Oh, you know what? This is actually a lot easier than I would think it would be. It's because we saw the new one. It's a toss up in the newest one between 2 specific scenes, and it's because I want to know how they filmed it. The top down view with the dragon's breath rounds.
Yeah.
And then the in the roundabout in Paris with the cars are some of the most impressive things I've seen this franchise pull off. In a film series that's nothing but impressive scenes. Those are the ones that are my personal favorites as it stands. Like, because I literally was in the theater going, how the fuck they do that? And the way they pull the camera back on that one scene, and it just keeps going up, and you're like, what the fuck? Outside of the new one, to kind of throw some love with the other ones, the entire opening to John Wick 3 has always been a favorite fucking franchise moment for me, with the horses and like him running through the city and then the library, like the constant just go 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 ness of 3's opening always fucking gets me going when I put that one on.
Good shouts. That dragon's breath, the whole idea of that was so fucking cool. And just a gun that basically like shoots like meteors at people. Like that was fucking cool. And yeah, the roundabout sequence was amazing. I've always been very partial to the opening of 2, where he goes to get his car back. And
oh yeah, and Peter Stormare fucking like has a little guest appearance.
The one person in the whole franchise who was smart enough to not fuck with this guy. He just knew, like, no, I will die like my brother and my nephew and everybody else who's gone up against him. I'm gonna sit here quietly.
Just let him have it back.
Yeah, just give it back. I love like some of my favorite bits in the whole franchise are him just sitting there, terrified out of his mind, hearing people die down on the floor, and just like not moving a muscle. But
I don't think people talk about the comedy enough. Not to take away like what you're about to talk about. No one talks about the comedy enough in these films. These films are actually super fucking comedic in a very interesting way.
Well, you're seeing gangsters, feared like Russian, Italian, like terrifying human beings, shit their pants at the sight of this guy. Like, how is that not hilarious?
It's really funny.
But yeah, in that sequence, there's a certain stunt where John drives his car off the loading dock and it like drifts midair. I don't know how the fuck they did that, but it's one of the coolest, most visually pleasing stunts I've ever seen. That's my favorite.
Now that's a good one. There's so it's so hard. 'Cause there's so many good ones. Part two, the whole subway stunt sequence when they're just shooting each other as they're trying to walk is so good. Um, fucking and it was in three. I think it was in part three. Chapter three with the motorcycle stunt.
Oh my
When he's like
god, with
fighting
the
people on
swords,
motorcycles and the swords. Like, oh my god.
that was ambitious, and I can't believe they pulled it off. That was really cool. I really like that. I love the whole siege on the Continental in part three, where business can now be concluded and or conducted, and they're all wearing like layers of body armor and still not stopping him.
Oh, dude, I love again the comedy, right? When like they first have like the body armor and Wick isn't getting any of them. He's like, God damn it. And he walks back and he's like, I need armor piercing rounds. And they just like fucking Lance Reddick just pulls them out, like, let's do it.
I love when he walks in kind of pissed off, just grabs a shotgun off the wall, starts loading it up, like not a word. Just,
Yeah.
they all know exactly what's going on here. They know what needs to be done, and they're helping each other out. It's great.
Oh yeah. It's so good. Yeah. I mean, and look, I don't want to not put any love to the first film. I know we haven't said it, because obviously, just by comparison, as the series got bigger and badder, the sequences, the stunts got more and more top. So obviously, a lot of the sequel stunts outshine the originals. With that said, the original has a lot of good stunts too. The entire club sequence it's fucking amazing in this first film.
Yeah, the red circle fight is fantastic. But yeah, when you get a budget, like I mean, the budget for the most recent one is $100 million compared to the $20 million budget the first one had. So yeah, they're gonna get to use a lot more locations, a lot more stunt people, a lot more crazy shit, and that's great. But considering what this film was able to pull off with a modest budget, props. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like our first introduction to John Wick as a assassin when the hitmen are storming his house, and he's just like boop bop beep bop, just like picking them off with zero effort, and you're just like, okay, this is why they're all scared of him.
Yeah, this guy's really good. One of my favorite, not it wasn't a stunt, it's a little character moment. One of my favorite character moments with John Wick. With the character, not just the movie title, but with the character. It's like the scene in the red circle when he gets to the basement and he has that one guy fucking his hand like face palm down. He's just I fucking to death the son that killed his dog and just shoots the guy in the head as he's looking at him like, you're next, motherfucker.
Yeah, it was a straight up mind fuck. It was not like he could have killed Yosef easily right there, but everything Yosef knows has to die first, and then Yosef dies. Like, Jesus, man. You don't fuck with the boogeyman. You don't.
You don't. It's always been a moment that I just get a little like now it's a smoke. I've seen the film so many times, but I'm like, ha, every time like he's fucking with them. But yeah, dude, this is a series it's so fucking hard to pick. It's just a stunt or even a sequence because it's just they have constantly found ways to fucking outdo themselves. The Halle Berry sequence in part three is so good.
That was beyond impressive. The trained attack dogs, like how they made that work was so great. My God.
Yeah. Or like when he had to escape the after that one, the lady he's supposed to he gets told to kill in part two. But then he has to like escape because Common finds out what he did, and they're in the sewers and he's shooting the guys trying to get out. Like that's such a great sequence. Like this franchise is filled with just so many tremendous sequences throughout all four films.
I found out something new about the first one that I never thought about. The scene where John goes to the red circle and he runs into one of his like a guy he used to know who lost some weight, and he tells
the bodyguard,
you can go. Well, apparently he's talking in code to the guy. He's asking him how many people are in there. So when the guy says, "Oh, I lost 60 pounds," he's saying there's 60 people in there. And that's why John lets him go, because he was honest. He told him what he needed to know, and he's like, "I got no beef with you. Take off."
I never knew that.
Yeah, how fucking cool is that?
That is neat. It wasn't not when I watched it, but a couple like I would say maybe like a couple weeks after I watched it, someone pointed out that when Jimmy the cop takes off his hat, that's his way of saying I'm off duty. I'm not going. Now like it's just like not of like I'm off duty. I didn't see anything. I'm out of here.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, Jimmy the cop. I love him because he's just he knows that a ex Russian hitman is living in the neighborhood and could at any moment start some shit. He's just like, I'm not going to be the guy to put the cuffs on. It's
Yeah.
not going to be me.
It's not me. Nope. And what I
Fight.
love is that it's established that he does know John. Like, yeah, he knows Sean's past because he's even John goes, "How's it going?" Jimmy's was like, "Okay, so they have a rapport." So he probably is, he knows about John's past.
He's the only cop we ever see in this franchise.
Yes, I do like that. You working again, John?
Nah, just sorting some stuff out.
Well,
All right, I'll leave you be.
yeah. I don't.
There's
Another thing I
bodies
really,
everywhere.
yeah, he's all bruised up in the face. That's another thing I like about real quick about two other things I want to point out really about this franchise. I know this kind of deviating from the question, but I can't help myself with this at all. I fucking God, I love this fucking series so much. Oh fuck. Okay, so the first one was the cinematography. I love. No one talks about enough how great the cinematography is in all four movies. This is a case where, again, talking about that, snubs at the Oscars. Why has none of these films ever been nominated at all? Like the cinematography, especially if you haven't seen the fourth one yet. Holy shit! Some of the shots.
Cinematography and I'd argue production design as well. The set pieces in this franchise are amazing, from like the desert to European ruins to the streets of Paris to New York nightclubs. It's all very distinct and feels like part of the same world, and that's impressive work.
Yeah, it's yeah. So shout out to the fellow, all the fellows. I don't know if they've had the same cinematographer since the first one. Who have done these films because holy shit, even this original one on $20 million budget looks fantastic. Like the shots are fucking impressive.
Yeah, I love the use of lighting, like the shadows and the colors. The red circle light of John as he's like in fucking berserker mode, just shooting people down. It's like he's seeing red, and the calming blue of like when he's creeping into the place. Like that's very distinct.
Yeah, the technical aspects of this film, all the films are great with that, and like how they're able to portray, get the music working the way it does for a lot of scenes, all the action scenes is impressive. Another thing I wanted to point out, and that I've always liked this amongst other like action films, is that, and obviously this was a product of like 80s action cinema. It was very common. You don't see the main character get beat up unless it's the main guy. Like, right, they have to have some kind of obstacle to complete their mission. What I love with John Wick is that yes, we have all this build about how tough he is and how he is like to be feared, but you're right. At the end of the day, this feared guy is still human because you do see him get beat up quite a bit throughout the franchise. He's just able to get back up and keep fucking going.
Yeah, he's unstoppable. That's the thing. Like, and there's so many people who like get him in a position where they could just execute him, but then they start monologuing, and it's like, aren't you aware of all of this? Aren't you the guy who's been talking him up? Like, and you have him in a chair handcuffed, and you're not just gonna put a bullet in his head. You're gonna like let your inept thugs take care of it while you wait outside.
Yeah, right. It's like, God damn it. Or even like Scott Adkins, and I don't want to spoil anything, but in the fourth one, he even makes the comment with the "Why won't you just die?"
Yeah, but if obviously it's a movie, so you got to suspend some disbelief. But yeah, it's awesome, and it is a good. You got to understand how. Yeah, he is just trying harder than everybody else. Like that's pretty much like he's the greatest assassin on earth because he fucking tries.
Yeah, clearly way harder than the other ones do.
He studied. Apparently, like some of the ink on his back says he used to be a Marine. Like he's had legitimate training in firearms and hand-to-hand combat, and he's kind of a dirty fighter too. He kicks a lot of dudes in the balls. Like he takes the opening when he can get it.
Look, I'm just saying, like in real life fight, everything's fair game. Okay, I don't care. Everything's fair game in real life fight. You might get kicked in the balls. You just got to roll with it. All right.
Life or death grudge matches are not boxing. Like it's you kick what you can reach, you punch what you can reach, and you hope you're the guy who gets up.
Yeah, and he's done actually quite a bit painful bit of things. I think it was in the second or third one. The one guy where he like grabs his leg, he's trying to kick him and then stabs him like square in the dick. And I was like, Jesus, John.
Oh, in 3 when he breaks the guy's neck with a goddamn book.
Is that a book? A fucking book.
Anything's a weapon. He's like the MacGyver of murder. It's awesome. This is a franchise we gush over because it's just so fucking fun. So let's find out where this came from. Where did John Wick come from? This was the brainchild of writer Derek Kolstad, who wrote a spec script over the course of 4 days in 2012 or 2020, 2013, depending on who you ask. The script was called Scorn, and it focused on a hitman who's forced back into the world he left behind. He wrote John Wick in 4 days.
Meanwhile, it takes like fucking 10 people to write a Transformers film over like a period of like 3 years.
Yeah.
And it comes out mediocre.
Yeah. Apparently, he wrote 1, 2, and 3. He didn't write 4, but he got a credit on characters created by.
Yeah, I forget what happened. I think he went to go do something else, and they got different writers to come in for chapter 4.
Couldn't tell. You couldn't tell it was in different hands. Like it was a seamless transition from 3 to 4.
I know it's weird. It's like usually you can tell. Like obviously, it's kind of on my mind because if a new film came out, we did the podcast on. But like, you watch Scream 3, it's very obvious it's not Kevin Williamson writing that one.
Yeah,
compared to the first 2. Obviously, they've done a better job since then of making you feel that it's Kevin, Williamson type of written film. But John Wick's one of the few where like you don't feel it at all. Like it feels like it. Watching the new one, it still felt like that. Derek Kolstad was still the one that wrote it.
Yeah, because the tone he created is very unique to this franchise. It works. 4 days, I can't fucking believe that. So Scorn was the original title of this movie. And he envisioned an actor in his mid-60s to mid-70s. Clint Eastwood and Paul Newman were kind of the models of how he envisioned the character.
I can kind of see it. If you're talking like Man with No Name, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. Like
I can see it.
Yeah, Blondie, retired for 40 years, gets his dog killed and goes back in and starts fucking people up. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's kind of Unforgiven, isn't it?
Pretty much.
His main focus was to explore the concept of the worst man in existence finding a normal life, then losing it, and how that would unfold. So yeah, Unforgiven. Like, I mean, I love the movie, but from its original script, it does sound like you want to do a modern day Unforgiven.
I mean, again, it's just I know that at the end of the day, I've talked about it before, and I've used this movie as an example plenty of times. Nothing's original in Hollywood. You know what I mean? No matter how hard you try, even if you don't watch films, nothing's original. The story wheel has run dry. It's been like that for probably over 50 goddamn years.
Well, and in Hollywood, like you really can't get a project greenlit unless you can compare it to something that was successful.
Exactly.
Which is fucked up, but
yeah, but it's at that point because of those 2 reasons. It's how do you add your touch to it, your flavor? And Derek Kolstad, yeah, he may have obviously been very inspired by like Eastwood films and stuff like that, but he added his own flavor to it to make this feel new and make this feel unique and original. Hence why it became the fucking franchise it is now.
Yeah, I agree entirely. So while this was happening, producer Basil Iwanik was struggling to find projects for his fledgling new studio, Thunder Road Films. He wanted action films that could be produced on a low budget. And when he came across Scorn, he put in a bid for it. His bid was the lowest on the table because he couldn't afford that much, but Kolstad's agent told him to take it since Thunder Road was ready to start production immediately. So this was, a low budget, but there will be a movie made. If Warner Brothers put in a bid and gave you like $10 million, they might just never make the movie. And Kolstad wanted to make the movie.
Yeah, so it's a safer bet. I mean, it's a safer bet because a big company takes it. They don't have to do it. There's been plenty of stories of bigger companies sitting on films. Look at Paranormal Activity that came out in 2007 after it sat on Paramount's fucking shelf for I think over a decade. So yeah, for those of you running, that should have come out a lot earlier than it did, but it came out when it did. So why risk that as opposed to a guy who has a young fledgling movie company and is hungry to get something made? So yeah, why the fuck not?
Yep, exactly. In April 2013, the script found its way into the hands of Keanu Reeves, who immediately connected with it, despite being about 10 to 15 years younger than the original age of the character. Reeves
already 50.
I know. It's like, yeah, but they wanted the 70-year-old. They wanted fucking Harrison Ford.
Damn it.
Reeves was one of the few actors who, in Kolstad's mind, totally understood the character of John Wick, who was actually named after Kolstad's 88-year-old grandfather, John Wick, and his grandmother's name is Helen. So he named John and Helen Wick after his grandparents.
That's oddly kind of sweet.
Yeah. There's a dude out there named John Wick who's an 88-year-old retiree, and I wonder if he like goes to restaurants now and like presents his ID. They're like, "What? Your name's John Wick?"
I love that movie.
That's my grandson. So Keanu was in. He was like, "I want to do this. This looks cool." So he sent the script to stunt coordinators turned producers Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, who had been Keanu Reeves' stunt coordinators on the first 3 Matrix films. And they had since founded the action design and stunt company 8711 Productions. Keanu had recommended them to choreograph the action sequences, but they loved the script so much, they decided to direct it personally. So Leitch directed the stunt stuff, and Stahelski directed the film itself.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. And I'm not going to give the details, so I don't take anything away from it. This is where you realize a lot of this film is because of Keanu Reeves believing it so much. And again, it just kind of goes back to, obviously, Keanu Reeves is considered one of the nicest actors around. He's apparently a lovely human being. And this just warms your heart even more to show that this is a man that really does truly care, is kind, and did everything in his own power. He made much like, Ryan Reynolds with the first Deadpool, doing whatever he could to get that film made. So this, this is from if I recall correctly, this is the beginning of what Keanu did to ensure this film got made and released.
Oh, big time. What the next step was, Kolstad and Reeves spent the next 6 drafts of the script rewriting the film to fit Keanu's style, adjusting the character's age to about 35, trimming dialogue to make the character more badass. Less is always more. So there were for example, the scene where John goes to the church and burns Vigo's stash of money and blackmail shit. There's a whole speech with the priest that they cut and turned into just when John threatens him, and it works so much better. Like, we don't need any more than that.
No, because what you're told about how they present his character, and again, I know I said it earlier. Obviously as the film franchise went on, Keanu's dialogue becomes less and less. But John Wick, even in this first one, is not a man of like a lot of words. He's a man of few words, and he's not using complicated words. I don't mean that as an insult. He's a man of few words that works. But it's even when he says or the most famous thing. I don't know how it hasn't been memed yet, like Woe has, but yeah, that he says throughout the goddamn series.
Yeah.
Yeah. It works. It gets your attention still somehow. It's a mixture of just like how Keanu sells these very simple lines. You're like, okay, I understand what he's saying. Or, anytime he sees, Winston.
Well, I just, it implies so much history between characters. You don't need to hear, how they met or what they've been through. Just in the exchange of names, you understand, okay, they've got history.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. It treats the audience with intelligence, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it works because, like, everyone else calls him John, but as soon as you hear Ian McShane say Jonathan, just that simple saying the whole name tells you, okay, they have a different sort of history. Because he's the only one that's calling him by his entire name. And not only does it tell you that, it gives you insight into Winston's character immediately. You're like, okay, they have history. This guy takes himself to be a much more sophisticated human being because he's calling him Jonathan as opposed to John.
No, exactly. And perhaps Keanu's biggest contribution to this film, it was his idea to change the title from Scorn to simply John Wick.
It's a smart move.
Yes,
Yeah, that's why I'm like, it makes to me, it makes his comeback story with this so much spirit. Know that like he believed in this project highly and sat, and it wasn't like, I'm sure some people are like, oh, this sounds like a hostile takeover. No, he sat with the two directors and the writer when it came to rewriting this movie. He sat with them and was like, okay, let's reconfigure this and make this into an even tighter thing, and collaborated with them to make what we have. And it honestly, to me, just makes the comeback that he had since then so much better, because he was clearly pouring his heart and soul into this movie.
Yeah, this was not a paycheck gig. This was something Keanu felt could be a legitimate vehicle for his career, and he thought it was awesome. And he wanted everybody involved. He wanted the creators to have as much input as they wanted, and he wanted to be able to contribute his own ideas. It's collaboration. It's what Hollywood should be like, but it doesn't always work like that.
No, unfortunately not. This is unfortunately a rare story in Hollywood.
Most times you get like an Edward Norton who's like, I want to be in a superhero movie that's not really a superhero movie. It's like, well, then why'd you agree to play the Hulk, you dumb shit?
Yeah. God damn it.
They filmed in New York City, which allowed for a lot of the principal actors just to film their scenes and go home, since a lot of them lived in New York. Like Ian McShane lived down the road, so he would just pop in, do his scenes, and then go home.
Yeah. Oh, and also I mentioned, and also some fact that going with Keanu Reeves, kindness, the fact that he remembered the two guys from The Matrix, that says a lot. Like, because when this came out, he was far removed from Matrix Revolutions. Like, there was not talk about resurrection. It was like, okay, Matrix is done. And because it talked to spring back up till John Wick became a huge hit, just saying. And also when Bill and Ted 3 proved to be a hit as well.
Yeah, let's go back to Keanu's other franchise. That's how it works.
Hey, look, Bill and Ted 3 was actually really good. I'll say that right now. But the fact that he remembered those two guys, it was like, hey, I really liked working with them as my stunt coordinators. This is a film I think they'd be perfect for. Let me bring them on board. Like, just fucking speaks highly of this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, without their involvement, I don't know if this would have been as cool, because they were the stunt dudes who made sure everything went off, without a hitch, and was well choreographed and well filmed. So yeah, you put a stuntman in the director's chair, you're going to get some A-list stunts that look amazing.
Yeah. Instead of the Michael Bay type of stunt scenes.
Yeah. You're not going to have eight takes of, or 8 cuts of Liam Neeson jumping a fence.
God, I've watched that clip so many times just for laughs.
It's so bad. It's so bad. So here's the depth of training Keanu Reeves did for just the first John Wick. He undertook 4 months of training, including several hours a day in the gym, strict diet, stretches, learning the choreography. He had some previous martial arts experiences, but the directors wanted to create a signature style for John Wick, like a student of all martial arts. He had Reeves trained in judo, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and arnis. I don't know what that is, but I assume it's badass. He also took tactical gun courses with the Los Angeles SWAT and Navy SEALs. He also learned stunt driving skills, including drifting a car while aiming a gun. He didn't half-ass a second of this movie.
No, and what's crazy is he did that for all the sequels also. He could easily been like, okay, look, I don't know for the first one, I'm not doing it for the sequels, but he kept doing it. He would even release the videos of him doing the gun training for that. And then even the little things like how he punches people. If you pay attention to John Wick films, he very rarely does a closed fist punch. He does an open hand punch, because in reality, a closed fist punch is more likely to fuck up your hand. Whereas a open fist side punch, for lack of a better word, a judo chop, for those who want to be goofy about it.
I love how hard you were trying not to say judo chop.
I was like, fuck it, it's fucking judo chop, okay? Because in reality, we laugh because of, I think Austin Powers was one that kept fucking doing it. Yeah. But the thing is, that actually does more damage. And that Keanu Reeves talked about that because that one, it doesn't, you're less likely to hurt your hand in the process, and you're more likely to do a lot more damage to someone if you do it like that, because your hand right there is extremely tough.
I'll remember that next time I'm getting mugged. Judo chop. Yeah. The very least, they'll be like, "What the fuck was that?" And I'll be able to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a little detail Keanu Reeves I remember talked about with the films was like you see it sometimes when he gets like his emotions get the better of him, but mostly it's open hand, not closed hand, because this shit will actually 9 times out of 10 you'll actually bust up your hand in the process.
He tends to punch more with his gun than anything else. He, like and shoot.
Yeah. Oh, I love when like he
going on in here.
Oh, dude, I love when like in the series he'll run out of ammo and he can't reload and he just flings his gun at people. I crack up every time.
There's one, I think it's in part 3, when he like hurls an entire assault rifle at somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the same thing if I, was a master assassin and had no more bullets.
Yeah, right. Oh, dude, the fucking knife scene in 3 when he's just like flinging knives at people.
Yeah, the close up on the in the guy's eye.
Oh, fucking Lucio Fulci moment in a John Wick film if there ever was one.
Yeah, an antique like knife collection being hurled at gangsters. Fucking hell, this franchise is so cool.
Dude, yeah. Oh, dude. And again, that's that. I told people like these are cool, but the humor is actually like so apparent in these films. Like when he's doing that knife thing, it's kind of funny because it's so the way the camera just holds on him, just flinging one after the other at someone, or the fucking I saw the new one in the theater had a decent crowd, and when he did the nunchuck to that one dude you see in the trailer, he just keeps nunchucking his face. Dude, the audience was losing it because it was just like, Jesus Christ, he is going to town on that dude's face.
Yeah, I love the comedic moments because it's so outrageous. You can't take it too seriously because it is, logically he'd be dead by now. Somebody would have tagged him in the head at some point.
Yes.
So you got to just accept that. Yeah, this is outrageous. This is a parallel reality where apparently bullets just tend to fly off of John Wick.
Yeah, and there's Kevlar fucking suits.
I refuse to believe that John Wick is the only assassin in the high table underground who knows how to fucking aim.
Yes, that apparently everyone in the ward's an assassin.
Everybody, everyone who's got a cell phone from like 2005.
Yeah, and if to protect your head with those Kevlar suits, they just hold their fucking arm up and they duck behind it,
like they're fucking Dracula. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how that would work. Probably not well. But they're fun. These movies know what they are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key. They know exactly what they are. They're not trying to be anything but what they are.
Exactly. So let's run through the supporting cast of this thing real quick. We got Ian McShane as Winston, the enigmatic manager of the Continental Hotel. It almost wasn't Ian McShane. It was Jason Isaacs for the longest time, but he had to drop out due to a scheduling conflict. So Ian McShane joined the cast at kind of the last minute. And I can't imagine anybody else playing Winston.
Dude, I'll say, I mean, not that I'm sure he would have been good in the role himself,
yeah.
But he and McShane just brings such a certain amount of class and charisma to this role that's required. Like I said, like, how he never refers to him John, it's Jonathan, and the way he talks to people, he's very much like, he's always like a step ahead of everyone. He knows what's going on.
Well, the way I interpret Winston, and it's never really, it's implied at certain points in the franchise, I feel like he started the high table and they forced him out.
That's interesting. Okay.
That's how I've always viewed it. Because like his, reference number is 11111. Like this is his world that he created, and the table kicked his ass off the table, gave him the Continental to shut him up, and he has been trying to get them back ever since.
Yeah, which is why he's so happy to see John just go off. He's like, yeah, do it.
I will aid in this fight as much as I can. Go ahead. Go nuts.
Yeah. Have fun with it. One of my favorite Winston moments is actually in part 2 when that fucking scumbag goes to the Continental to hide out knowing it. And when John gets in there and Winston can see on John's face, oh shit, he's about to break the rule. And you can hear me like, Jonathan, let's calm down. And when he fucking shoots his ass, and just Winston just looking at him like, Jonathan, what have you done? And I love Wick's response. Finished it and just puts the gun. One of my favorite ones because like you just see in that moment in his face of like, John, I like you. I don't want anything to happen. Like, don't do it. You're
Why
in
you,
the Continental.
why are you making me do this, John? Why are you making me do this?
Yeah.
I
We're
love earlier.
friends.
I love earlier when Santino walks in and is like, "Hey, I want his membership revoked," and Winston's like, "Why? He hasn't done anything against this establishment." He's like, "Well, as a member of the table, I demand." And Winston cuts him off like, "Nothing. You demand nothing from me. This is
Oh,
my domain. don't you try to step on me. Who the hell do you think you are?" It's
oh, dude, it's so
when
good.
Winston flexes, goddamn, is it great?
Oh, dude, when he flexed the new one to Bill's with the duel, I was like, "Oh, you fucking go, Winston."
You
He's
arrogant asshole.
oh yeah, you arrogant asshole. Because I won't spoil it, but I caught it when it happened. When it happened, I was like,
Yeah,
I caught that. I fucking caught.
Me too. I was like, "Oh, you stupid shit." Yep. Good plan. Good plan.
Good plan. Yeah,
Okay.
just consequences.
Yeah. McShane kicks ass. We got Lance Reddick as Sharon, the hotel's loyal concierge. He was awesome. Loved him. He tragically passed suddenly at 60 years old, like a week ago, right before the movie premiered. It was kind of cast a dark shadow over the fourth film. But
Yeah,
everyone, I watched a lot of red carpet interviews. Everyone loved him. He was such a cool, warm presence. Keanu and Lawrence Fishburne especially burst into tears talking about him. And
yeah.
he was just a cool character actor. I really liked him before John Wick, and just seeing him in that was cool. I loved him in Lost. He did a Funny or Die video where he was like the manager of a toy store who took it way too
Oh,
seriously.
Josh was watching that one day. I caught some of it. It was really funny.
Yeah, I watched that earlier. I was like, stumbled onto it and thought, this is fucking great. He was going to
Yeah,
play Zeus in the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus. I don't know if he filmed anything before his death.
yeah. He was also in I watched a clip the Eric Andre show where he actually freaked out Eric Andre and like slammed on the table.
I remember reading that like he's the one guy who like broke Eric Andre.
Yeah, because well, he breaks the table, and then he comes out in like it looked like slave attire and was like just chanting a song. I was like, I'm watching, like, dude, what the fuck is going on? It's like, when did this happen? It's actually pretty funny, but
The guy who played the villain in 3, the Iron Chef guy, whose name always is, I think Mark DeCascos, I want to say.
mhm.
He was talking about, he was hanging out with Lance Reddick on the set of 3, and he started talking to him, and that's when he realized that Reddick's accent in the movie is not his real accent, and it freaked him out. He's like, "What? You? That's not really your voice." Like, no, I'm from Baltimore. he was a damn good actor.
Yeah, right? I had read somewhere that apparently on one of the films, they were filming stuff. It was Keanu's day off. Like they weren't filming with him anything, but he came down anyway. I guess it was Reeves' birthday, and he came by with his girlfriend, and he went to go do something. His girlfriend walked over to Lance Reddick and said, like, "Hey, just so you know, Keanu actually came here on his birthday because he really wanted to see you perform."
That's awesome.
And yeah, Lance Reddick was like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "Yes." And so yeah, so apparently like they, fucking he liked watching him perform even on his days off. It was cool shit. But yeah, Lance Reddick was awesome, man. Like he was also a very avid gamer. So he was in Destiny 2, and well, I think both the Destiny games. Apparently Destiny 2 fans did a very nice tribute when they were playing the game and the news of his passing. But also I've been playing it. He is in the Horizon series. He's really good in that. And the show was quite panned, if you will, but he was in the Resident Evil show on Netflix as Albert Wesker. And look, say what you will about show, I want someone try to tell me he was bad in that show, because he was the best part in that whole show. I'm gonna go on because apparently no one fucking watched it anyway. It gets revealed he plays Wesker, one of the oldest, longest running villains in the games. And it gets revealed that he has clones of himself. So, and each clone is a different personality. So he has like one that is clearly like looks like he's coming out of Blade. He has one that acts like a child, and Reddick sells every single fucking personality of this clone. It's great. Like it was fucking fantastic watching him just take on this character that had to portray different personalities to differentiate between the clones. So he was just he's always been a consistently good presence. This was one of my favorite roles he's done was the John Wick series. I loved him in this character. Even my mom, who didn't really know who he was like, I really like this guy. When we were watching it, one of my favorite scenes with him is in this movie when Perkins is trying to kill Wick, and he calls the room, and it just cuts between him staying on the phone and the shit going on in the room, and it's, I'm sorry to call you at this time of the hour, Mr. Wick.
I love him. He's the front desk. He's the concierge, named after the Greek ferryman of the dead. So he's got this Greek mythology thing going on that he gives passage almost. I love his interactions with John Wick's dog in part 2.
Oh yeah.
He becomes friendly with the dog, and his intense loyalty to Winston throughout the whole franchise. I love that.
Well, I love how they finally signed for they considered each other friends. It wasn't just a working relationship. They very much considered each other friends, which was very nice to see. It's like, oh, I did like how he got in on the fight in the third film. He's like, I want to help John Wick out.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit like dumping a bucket of water on a fire while the firemen are already there with the big hose. You're like, I'm gonna help. It's like, it's John Wick. How much help are you really gonna be here? But I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe was cast as Marcus, John's hitman friend who backs him up. It's cool to see Willem Dafoe pop into a low budget action film like this, and as a memorable character who, yeah, I get why he had to die, but I wish we'd gotten to see him in the wider world in the sequels.
Yeah. Well, we got, Willem Dafoe in a John Wick movie, and Willem Dafoe in anything I'll take. It's William Dafoe. The guy's always great, always consistently good. So I was very happy. I remember when I first watched this, like I said, I went and switched low expectations for this first film when I initially watched it. I had no idea beyond Keanu Reeves who the fuck was in this movie. So when he popped in the beginning, I was like, oh, hey, Willem Dafoe's in this. Sweet.
Yeah, I know that lured me in pretty quickly. I'm like, okay. Touche. I like Dafoe.
Yeah.
I think that was a smart move, introducing Dafoe early on, so you can people who were like us who didn't know what the hell this was could be like, I know him. All right.
Yeah. Okay. You got Dafoe. Let's see what else you got, movie. Oh, you got the guy from Game of Thrones that most people don't like. Got it.
Yeah. Alfie Allen was cast as Yosef, Vigo's dipshit son.
And segue.
I know I feel kind of bad for Alfie Allen because with this and Game of Thrones, he has been typecast as an obnoxious prick with daddy issues.
Yeah. I would say at least Game of Thrones actively tried towards the end of its run to give him a redemption arc.
Yeah.
But God, this guy.
Oh yeah. He's the franchise's most punchable villain by a lot. And that's including the what's he called? The Marquis de Gramont, the French guy.
Oh, the new one, Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, I'm like, oh fuck him, but this guy, I hate entitlement, and this dude just reeks of. Yeah, well, you know who my father is.
Yeah, but he's playing every type of mob boss kid you see in films. I'm sure are like that in real life. I luckily am still here and I have not ran into that myself. Don't want to. But it's young dudes that they know what their parents do for a living. They're aware of what their parents do for a living, so they their shit don't stink, and they give away whatever because it's like, oh, you're not going to touch me. This is what my dad does, and I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, but then when dad's like, "You're on your own, you moron," and you're like, "What do I do now?" Yeah, when you wake the bear, he's gonna kill you.
Oh yeah, I love after that phone call with John Leguizamo, and the dad immediately when he gets told about the business meeting going on, he's like, "Where's my son?"
Well, Joseph's trying to tell him "Oh, it went so totally smoothly. They're not going to do shit," and Vigo's like, "That's great," and punches him right in the fucking gut.
Yes. Oh, and then before that, when Leguizamo punches him, I fucking love that scene so much when he just comes in with the car and Leguizamo immediately recognizes whose car it is. And he's like, who'd you get that from? He's like, oh, some dude and nicked it. And he goes, get that the fuck out of my shop. Like immediately. He's like, are you serious? I love he's like, oh, what'd you do? You fucked him up real bad? Oh yeah, we fucked him up real bad. Oh, is that right? And punches him in the goddamn face.
I love when like Yosef's friend like pulls the gun and Aurelio's like, "Oh, you're a big man, huh? You pull a gun on me in my shop?" And he like grabs it. He's like, "Do it, shoot me. What are you gonna do?" Like Jesus. I don't know how
Like,
Leguizamo puts his pants on over that giant set of balls.
right? I was like, geez. I like when the dude, his buddy, the calmer of the two in his friends group, is like, Vigo is not going to like this. He's like, I know what Vigo's not going to like, and he's not going to like what I have to tell him.
Yeah, he's like, "I'll tell you something. He's gonna understand."
Yeah,
Yeah, because old blood knows, what's okay to do and what's not okay to do. Young blood doesn't give a shit.
yeah. It still has to learn the rules.
But he does, he does it's a great performance from Alfie Allen. He definitely sells obnoxious mob boss kid and then, terrified for his life, regretful idiot later on.
Oh yeah. I always like one of my like little favorite moments he does is when he gets the bottle taken from him away from him at the club and he acts like a little baby. I want another bottle. Give me a fucking bottle. I'm like, God, dude, you are nothing behind your dad's fucking mob money.
I've always loved the juxtaposition between the Continental nightclub, which is classy and kind of jazzy, and then Yosef's nightclub, which is just douchebag, loud pop bullshit. It's like this. There's two worlds going on here, and Yosef's trying to exist in both, and neither one really wants him.
Yeah. They just view him as like, oh, you're the, entitled, spoiled, mob boss's kid.
Everyone hates him, but has to tolerate him. And that takes us to Michael Nickvist, who plays Vigo Tarasov, a Russian crime boss who is pretty much just accepted death the second he gets that phone call. And I love watching Vigo decline mentally throughout the whole movie as he just realizes I'm going to lose everything because of my fucking stupid son stole from the scariest motherfucker on earth.
You would think like if John Wick retired his ass in the same city he works in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of he should have just moved out of New York. Do you think Vigo would have been like, okay, this guy, son, if you're running him, just keep going. Don't fucking do it.
Well, I think it never even crossed his mind that his son would run into John Wick randomly, fall in love with his car, and take it. I don't think that even crossed his mind because he had to have told his son, bedtime stories of the Baba Yaga. He had to have said something.
Oh yeah, something.
I mean, John's only been out for 5 years.
Yeah.
How did these people how did his circle not recognize John Wick?
I mean, that's true. If he's only been out, unless his son just had no fucking clue, who never saw him.
Yeah.
But I'm like, wait, wouldn't his son have actually at some point seen him or something?
Well, like some of Yosef's friends are like older, in their 30s, some maybe their 40s. Certainly, they might have seen in passing the boogeyman and remembered. Well, I guess maybe not. If he's not coming after you, you're not going to remember his face.
That's true. I'm also you're not terrified of him if he's not coming after you.
But yeah, Vigo should have told Yosef. And by the way, stay away from that guy.
Yeah,
this is what he looks like. If you see this face, keep walking.
Keep walking because we will lose everything, son. Don't fucking do it. Yeah, it's funny watching his list decline. Like the moment he gets that phone call, he's like, oh no. No.
The way he holds himself, the like little jokes and he does, he's just like, I don't fucking care. I'm gonna die, so why not? Like, he doesn't care at that point. He's like, fuck it. I can't win this. You know it, I know it, so bring it on.
Yeah, I do like when like John shoots the car and gets on top of it, and him like, okay.
He's just like shit, just like scream. I love that. Vigo is Michael Nickvist was a fucking treasure. He's such a great actor. He passed a few years ago, regrettably.
I heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd only seen him in a handful of stuff. He did this movie called Colonia with Emma Watson and Daniel Bruhl, where he played a cult leader in Chile. He
Yeah.
was fucking terrifying. He just believed him as this like nut job who ran this place with an iron fist. I recommend checking that out for a really good Nick Fist performance. And
Okay.
then the Swedish Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy. I've heard that
That's
he's
that's
great.
I heard where he's like the most famous from is that yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was the bad guy in Mission Impossible 4.
Probably. I just don't remember. I've seen the movie once, so I can't remember off the top of my head. No, yeah, he is phenomenal. And it's like you definitely can see where he is definitely like the mob boss that he is. Like you can get why he's feared and like how he's achieved what he's achieved. But at the same time, seeing like that mental deterioration of like a man that just realizes my idiot son just fucked with the wrong guy. I'm going to lose everything. God damn it.
That's why the character works so well, because traditionally he's the guy you're supposed to be afraid of in movies like this. He's the guy who runs everything, who people fear. So when he's shaking at the idea of the hitman who got out and is coming back, it really just keeps building John's legend like even more. It's great.
Yeah.
We got Adrian Palicki as Perkins, the assassin who breaks the rules, and she's great. She's just a great evil bitch who doesn't appreciate how people do business here and pays for it.
Yeah. Well, again, it's that young blood in a way, you know what I mean? Like we see it on the side of Vigo's son. Then we see it here where it's like she doesn't care about the Continental War. She's like, no, I'm a young blood. I don't care. And just like Vigo's son, she does pay the price ultimately when Winston gets one up on her with the Miss Perkins. Your membership to the Continental has forever now been revoked.
By thine own hand, revoked. I love that.
Yeah, and just has her shot the fuck up.
That is such a beautifully framed shot of like Perkins walking through the park and the 4 assassins just coming out of the shadows and surrounding her. Oh my God. I'm glad they were good shots too, because they were aiming right at each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's great. I
laugh in the background. You see one just fall.
That would have killed the mood, but it would have been funny. She plays the lieutenant on the Orville, and she's hilarious and very heroic on that show. So when I see her as a piece of shit in this, it's always like, she's got range.
Yeah, I think she was also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I believe.
Yeah, she was Mockingbird, and that was great performance for her. She almost played Wonder Woman on a failed pilot that never took off. And I saw some clips from it. It's like, yeah, this is cheap, and the costume's plastic. No wonder this didn't take off. And then finally, John Leguizamo as Aurelio, mechanic to the criminals. My mom to this day, hates when they call him old man, because like Leguizamo is her age, so she always takes that.
They're not calling her that; they're calling him that.
I know, but it's like, what? John Leguizamo is old now? God damn it!
Yeah, he is. He's in his 50s. I think he's almost in his 60s.
Yeah, I love him. It's just he's one of the guys who knows what's going on, doesn't fuck around, and does the right thing. Calls John, is like, hey, your car was here. It's like, this is where it went. He's not even like afraid of John, because he knows he didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's what love is like. If you know you didn't do anything, you don't have to be scared. You're like, well, he's not going to kill me because I didn't do anything.
Everything John does to people is reactionary. People fuck with him first, and then he fucks back.
Yeah. I do like how he has the drink ready. He knows because he's like, John's going to come asking questions.
Yeah. John shows up still wearing his bloody clothes. One thing on his mind. I wish Leguizamo had been in 3 and 4. We never got to see him, bring the car back.
Yeah, we never did. That's my one thing. I was like, I actually wanted more of him, but I guess they couldn't find a place for him in the franchise.
I guess not. Once shit got too big, it was like your small town New York mechanic guy who does some side business with the Russians suddenly doesn't seem that important. It's unfortunate, but hey.
We've moved past the Russians.
Yeah. You think Vigo sat at the table? You think the Tarasovs sat at the table?
No. I think they were probably just a local New York Russian family.
I bet he wanted to. I bet Vigo was like, that was his ambition, was he wants to sit at the table. But Yosef fucked that up, didn't Now there's no more Terrasops.
John Wick decimated an entire.
Well, I mean, Peter Stormare is still out there, but he's too much of a weak coward to make a play. Not while John's still out there. He's not making that. He's not, risking that shit ever again.
No, he's not.
So production was quickly saddled with financial problems. Thunder Road Films, they just didn't have the kind of capital that bigger studios had. Plus, their initial investors were pretty unreliable. They didn't come through with the cash. So they couldn't afford the movie. They almost canceled the project 5 days into production.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were almost like, we can't afford it. We got to ditch this thing. But Iwanek, the head of Thunder Road, learned that if he did that, he would be sued into oblivion by the various guild unions who were on the verge of not getting paid. And you don't do that. You don't fuck with the unions.
No, you do not fuck with the unions in Hollywood.
Yeah. So Thunder Road could have been buried by union blackmail. Thankfully, Iwanek thought this through and decided, all right, we're going to make this work. He used his own personal credit card to cover some of the production costs, arguing that, he might at the very least get some air miles out of this.
Oh, God.
That was his rationale. I was like, well, I get air miles.
I'm sure he's a happy man now with the franchise, but oh my God.
Right? They were ultimately saved by, of all people, Eva Longoria. The actress Eva Longoria wrote them a check and never really talked about why. She produced the film. They were like, we thank her every day for saving this movie. And then she just moved on.
Did Keanu Reeves talk nice to her or something?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything about why Eva Longoria invested in this movie. It's right on the end credits, executive producers. It's like a couple people and Eva Longoria.
Did Keanu Reeves was like, look, Eva, we've been friends a while.
I guess maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was a fan of Desperate Housewives. I don't know.
They don't have just Keanu Reeves after a long day of filming John Wick. I can't wait to go home and watch Desperate Housewives.
I wonder if his plan was to just move through the cast. Like if Eva Longoria said no, I'm going to go to Terry Hatcher. I don't know. I'd love to know why. I'd love to hear what happened there. But yeah, she saved the movie.
Well, good. God damn.
And Keanu, of course, he negated his part of his salary to make sure he does that a lot. He's often said, I have more money than I'll ever be able to spend in 10 lifetimes. So he throws a lot of it around for good causes.
Yeah, it's not the first time. He famously gave a huge chunk of his salary on the second Matrix film to the stunt team for all the work they did as a thank you.
Yeah, explains that loyalty between Stahelski, Leach, and Reeves. That's not a gesture you're going to forget.
No, and then obviously people don't talk about it as much, but for the Devil's Advocate, they couldn't afford Al Pacino at first for the movie because I fucking Al Pacino, and how they pulled it off was Reeves took less money. He said, "Hey, take what you need left to pay him from my salary, and give it, and use it to get him because he so badly wanted to work with Pacino himself."
I love that that's framed as a nice Keanu story when in reality it sounds more like an asshole Pacino story.
It is, and it is, but you know what I mean. Like the fact that he was just like, "Hey, look, take it from me. I don't care."
If Pacino had just been like, "Yeah, I'll take for less money. I don't need it," but hey, that's not how it works.
No, luckily they had Reeves to come in and save the day. So yeah, not the first time he's done it, but it's always just nice to hear. And the fact that he again was like, "Hey, look, if it helps in any, and with this one, if it helps in any way, negate my salary, use that money for the budget, that."
Yeah, and it worked out. Ultimately, everyone's investment and the faith they had in John Wick paid off tremendously, and it became $1 billion franchise. So sometimes you gotta care just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
John Wick has an IMDb score of 7.4, Rotten Tomatoes score of 86%. Critics' consensus reads stylish, thrilling, and giddily kinetic. John Wick serves as a satisfying return to action for Keanu Reeves and what looks like it could be the first of a franchise. You were right. Good call. Rotten Tomatoes of 24.
For once, critics Good call.
That's another thing. I love how every film has been more critically acclaimed than the previous one.
Yes, I think the Rotten Tomatoes score has like gotten higher with each film.
Yeah, I think part 4 is like rocking like a 93 or 95% still.
Dude, part four has been literally getting called like the one of the greatest action masterpieces of the decade. Like I've seen that get thrown around so much with the new one. Like it's insane.
Yeah, it's amazing. This literally appealed to everybody, and everyone got on board with John Wick. Critics, fans, stunt people, other actors, like the people who kept popping into this franchise because they were fans. It's like,
Yeah,
it's weird. It's the great unifier.
Dude, it's like the franchise, and and again, not this is not me trying to shit on like people, and obviously I know you guys like watching a lot of Oscar films and stuff like. Not trying to shit on any of that, but it's always fun when like you got those films that come out and people don't really gravitate towards as much, but then like the art that gets regularly mocked or laughed at or looked down upon, right? You know, is what seems to unite people in a way. You know what I mean? Like John Wick, the Jackass franchise, right? How like critics and fans just seem to agree on that franchise. So, and if you don't believe me, look at the fucking reviews for Jackass Forever. Jesus. But it's like these like the franchises that people will just be like, oh, this is what you like. It's lowbrow entertainment, air quotes. But these are the ones that are consistently uniting critics, uniting fans, uniting actors in the industry to be like, no, we fucking like this. This shit's cool. Like my Twitter feed is still getting blown up with people not shutting up about new John Wick. Still, I am seeing posts about it. Can't say the same for Shazam, but John Wick 4, still talking about it.
Yeah. There's so many different facets to this franchise that make it work so well. But it begins with, a tight script and great direction. And this franchise has that in spades.
Yeah. And one of the most beloved actors in Hollywood.
Yeah. Keanu being just a super nice person, I'm sure, doesn't hurt.
Did you see the video recently? Sorry.
Yeah.
On the newest one, someone showed a video of him helping move production equipment on the newest John Wick. He's in his like suit and everything, John Wick attire, holding like production boxes in both his hands, walking up the stairs, hoping move it.
Fucking great. I love scenes of that. Like it really shows somebody's character. Like, there was a video at the Oscars. Some photographer like tripped and fell over, and Lady Gaga immediately ran over to help him out. Like nobody else did. Just Lady Gaga went over to be like, "Are you all right?" And like helped him up.
That's nice.
Yeah, but that shows you
actually. Yeah, I'll say I've actually heard pretty good things about her.
Yeah, so have I.
I think she'll be a really good Harley Quinn. Quick side note on the upcoming Joker.
I hope so. I don't think we need that movie at all, and I think it's weird that it's a musical, but I'm willing to check it out.
I'm actually honestly very against it, and I liked Joker quite a bit, but I'm very against the sequel because I don't know why we need it. But
John Wick grossed $90 million on a budget of only $20 million, mostly from word of mouth. Who were just like, "Dude, you got to check this out."
Yeah, literally, like how I described my story is how most people saw this. It was really kind of doing an action film. Okay, sure. We all saw 47 Ronin on you. All right. And then everyone's like, no, dude, you got to check this one out. We're like, all right.
It spawned 3 sequels and a spin-off and prequel miniseries that are both in early development. John Wick has since become one of the most celebrated action franchises of all time, and it almost didn't happen.
No, it almost got canceled. Like I said, I think originally there were plans to make it direct to video streaming, I think, to save cost. And somehow they got saved from that. Like we almost got a much different landscape. And I'm, and this is one of those things where you're super happy it happened the way it did, and that it did get theatrical release. Because, if you don't think that this movie and the subsequent sequels have changed American action cinema, ooh, you're wrong. It has. Like, it seems like now, ever since the first time it came out, American action has finally been trying to catch up to it, and so many films have been coming out just trying to fucking be John Wick. Problem is, none of them have come close to being as good as this film. This film or the series, because they don't get what made this one work. They're just trying to copy it, and that is inherently the wrong place to start.
Yeah, every big success has their imitators. Blair Witch had it. Like it always, every time there's something that like rejuvenates a genre or like does something new, You just get your constant imitators. And John Wick's no different. You got films like The Equalizer, which isn't terrible, but it's not John Wick.
No, and
He wants
I
to
know a lot
be.
of people. Yeah, a lot of people tell me the second one's good. I've only seen the first one. I know they're making a third one, so
Second one's not good.
oh,
The first one's not bad. The second one's like all over the map. Tries to do that whole like double, triple, quadruple cross bullshit that espionage thrillers do. I hate that.
yeah.
Well, let's give some awards to John Wick. We got the Quentin Tarantino Award for the best line of the movie. We've got the Thomas Newman Award for the best music moment of the movie, the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for the best performance, and the John Carpenter Award for the best scene. So why don't you give us your Quentin Tarantino Award, the best line of the movie? What do you got?
Look, this was tough. I mean, might have the same one. I don't know because this was so fucking tough.
Well,
I
there's
had
not a
a
lot
lot.
of big moment, like in terms of dialogue, there's not a lot of big like whoa moments, but there's a lot of like little moments. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I had a lot of those little moments written down. Like when the whole speech that Vito gives to his son about his wife dying, and especially when he's like, and not mere days after his wife's death, you stole John Wick's car, and you killed his. Oh no, you killed his fucking dog. Like, I had that. When later on tells him on the phone what he did. The whole that fucking nobody is John Wick, had all that stuff run down. Even the little line when like Vigo finally tells John Wick where his son's at, and he's like, "They know you're going to come." And I love Wick's response, "Of course, but it won't matter." Like, oh. But what I ultimately went with, and let's see, you might have it too, because it's too good not to put down, and it's been one of the most off-quoted lines from the entire film and the entire franchise, because it just works so goddamn well. And that's when he's tied in the chair. Keanu gives one of the best fucking speeches ever in a movie that both feels like not just a movie line, but almost feels a little bit like real life, like a little personal, because of like we talked about with his career at that time when John Wick was coming out. And it's a part specifically when he goes, "People keep asking if I'm back, and I really haven't had an answer. But yeah, I'm starting to think I'm back." The whole speech Keanu Reeves does in that moment is fucking great. The little growl he does when like he talks about getting the dog, and he's like, "And your son took that from me," and like the growl I'm like, oh, you feel the anger. But that specific part of the dialogue is so good.
I have exactly that. I added on the end when he says, "So you can either hand over your son or you can die screaming alongside him." And then he gets the bag over the head. But it's just, yeah, it's such a great moment of like because John hasn't really expressed verbally what he's been going through this movie. And this is the moment where he's like, "This is why I'm pissed that your kid killed my dog." It's like, it was the last thing my wife gave me. I could grieve with something, and your fuckhead kid killed it. It's like, shit, you're getting freaked out. You're getting scared.
I have seen this film so many fucking times. That scene still gives me goosebumps every time. I'm like, God, acting right there, fucking acting.
Well, I was reading up, Keanu Reeves. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he has had quite a great deal of tragedy in his life, in his personal life, and he poured a lot of that into John Wick, especially towards the beginning, like the scene where he gets the dog and he's reading the card and he's sobbing to himself. Like, you don't see action heroes that vulnerable ever.
No.
And Keanu, he went to a place I don't think he's ever really gone before to evoke that kind of emotion. And he goes back in that scene and you feel it. You can feel where he's coming from. You can feel that this means something to him. And I love that. I love that vibe.
Yeah. For those who don't know, who might be listening and don't know, obviously I mentioned Keanu Reeves does have a girlfriend currently. Before that, he met a lady that he, fell in love with, and they had intentions to get married, and she got pregnant with his child, and she had a stillbirth, and the baby died. And it put a strain on their relationship. They rekindled, they got back together, and unfortunately, shortly after that, she was involved in a car wreck after attending a party at Marilyn Manson's house. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about. For those who don't know, not to get too heavy, but that's the incident we're talking about and why this whole sad Keanu meme and all that stuff afterwards. But that's what happened in Keanu Reeves' life. Yeah, you can definitely, and obviously I think I've heard from a lot of people, from what people said, it did obviously very much affect them big time, obviously. Um, but yeah, you can see where in this film he is reaching probably going through those well of emotions he felt that day when all that stuff went down, and using that to crawl into this character. And obviously specifically the beginning of the film, like I said, when he's sobbing, and then this scene right here when he is like reaching deep down, it's like be vulnerable, say how he feels. And even with that in mind, anyone I think who's gone through a loss like that in their life, in real life, right? Anyone who has lost a significant other or a child, anything, someone they love, right? You feel it with them because you know those emotions, that feeling just as much as he does. And yeah, you get it. And it's funny because we all make the joke, oh, don't kill John Wick's dog. We made that joke since the film came out. But like, when you have that scene and it really does a good job recontextualizing it and making you go like, I get it. Like, I mean, obviously I would do anything for my dog. I love my dog to death. But if I got my dog through those kind of circumstances, and I was like in his position, I'd do the same fucking thing. I'm going through hell and high water now. Fuck your son. I'm going after him.
Yeah. I admire Keanu Reeves a lot for not letting that break him, for finding his way back, for, keeping, still being his upbeat, fun, kind self with all
He was
that.
young when that happened too. So
Yeah. He could have, retreated into himself, could have, retired, could have, we could have never seen him again. But no, he kept working. He kept, being kind of an anchor for a lot of people. And I respect the hell out of that. Keanu Reeves is more than just like Hollywood's nice guy. I think he truly is, like, he's a role model and a personal hero.
Yeah. So yeah, it's knowing that, and then like seeing this scene and seeing, this scene specifically, like, yeah, this speech, it hits. Like I said, I've seen this scene like probably over fucking 50 times, this movie. And this scene still gets me every fucking time. And it's all because of Keanu Reeves' delivery and just the dialogue.
I could have gone, I was thinking about when Vigo tells Yosef the story of the Baba Yaga and what's coming, and he hugs Yosef and he's just like, you will do nothing because you can do nothing. Like,
yeah,
just, there is no fighting this. I love that. I love there's not like, we got to band together and fight this guy. It's the battle's over. We can't fight this guy.
You just unleashed this guy on us. Yeah. Why would you do that? I love when he's like, talks about the pole pencil. He's like, I gave him an impossible task, and the bodies he left that day laid the foundation for what we are. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, I once watched him at a bar kill 3 men with a pencil. A fucking pencil.
I love when he walks away and he does that like
yeah, the fucking mayhem. I will never refer to that dude as his actual name. It's always Mayhem because of those fucking commercials.
He played, real quick, on the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that guy plays a super asshole cop that's known as the Vulture. So seeing the Vulture get sideswiped in this movie, it's pretty damn satisfying for Brooklyn Nine-Nine fans.
Nice. Yeah, God, that part, you're like, dude, who is it? Like I said, that whole scene in general is great. You're just like, who is this guy?
Oh, what are some other good lines? Marcus's death, when he said, when Vigo's like, no, you go out on my terms. And Marcus is like, no, sir, I go out on my own. And grabs a gun and, does a whole suicide by mob thing. Yeah, it is a flawless script. It really is. Like, their rewrites, Keanu's input was perfect. Kolstad's foundation rocked. It just all worked together so well.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, flawless.
With that, the Thomas Newman Award, Best Music Moment. What do you got?
Again, this was actually one of the harder ones. So I do think this movie and this franchise in general excels with how it mixes music with the action and even with the dialogue and stuff. Like, they do such a good job with it. It's there's so many good moments. When it, and like for those who haven't seen John before, there's a great moment in Paris with how they're playing certain songs on the radio as the entire city, it seems, is going after John Wick, and it's great. Um, but for this film, man, I had stuff written down. Okay, again, like everything, I had so much. This is probably the most I've written down for any movie I've done because I just fucking was like, God damn it. Obviously, music when they're doing the whole like informing, Vigo's informing his son of who John Wick is, and the music that's playing as he's like beating it. Whoo!
That's the kind of like John Wick theme song, which I love how simplistic and kind of haunting that is. That bit of score. It's in all four movies. It's kind of the overarching franchise theme. So good.
Oh, it's so good. I had that done. The song that plays when he finally does get um Yosef, like the song that plays is like it was great. But what I went with, and because it just is again, it's that mixing of like music with the action, how it works so well in this franchise. I went with the club beat that plays as Wick is taking out the guards, and like there's like obviously the basement portion where it's nice and slow and kind of like it makes you feel like John's not really fully focused yet. He's a little bit off his game right now. And then when it gets to like the top part and the beat, that club beat, everyone that is dancing to it, and it is just he's a machine, and he is just taking these cards fucking out. God, what a great fucking music moment.
Well, I love, I was talking about lighting earlier in the bathhouse area. It's very blue and tranquil. And yeah, it's like that's John Wick. Upstairs in the club, the pulsing red lights and the beat, that's Baba. Yeah, that's the Baba Yaga.
Yeah. And I love
he doesn't miss.
No, and I love the needle drop they did. Like I caught it this time when I watched it, and this is the first time I've caught it. But when it's getting transitioning to the upstairs part, you notice the beat starts to kind of slow down before it's almost like a breakdown in a metal song, right? It's slowing down before it does it. And you slow down, and the moment the door opens, the beat just goes boom, 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 and it just fucking goes, and you just see him doing his thing, and you're like, yes, take out the cards, fucking get them, John.
I loved, minor spoiler for part 4. I loved hearing that music again during the Dragon's Breath sequence. I was like, oh shit, that's the red circle.
Yeah, I caught that. I was like, oh, they're playing it again.
Oh, that was neat. Yeah, great pick. I'm glad you chose that. That's an awesome music moment. I ultimately went with Killing Strangers by Marilyn Manson.
I almost had that too, because I was like, God, this is such a good song.
It's so perfect. I went with its second usage in the movie where Vigo kills Marcus because it's just so pointless. It's like Vigo, he was leaving.
Yeah. It's like, dude. Now it's on you. Like at first it was your son, but now it's on you. He was leaving.
You had to have the final word, didn't you, Vigo? I mean, he killed your son and you couldn't let him get away with it, even if it means you're gonna die next. And yeah, it was like also like the consequences of John's actions for the first time as well.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah. And look, ignoring the kind of the shit going on with Marilyn Manson right now, okay? I understand there's obviously a lot of people probably don't like him for good possible reasons, with all those allegations. Like I've said, he was one of those guys that look, and again, please don't trash me. I'm obviously was not aware as a kid of the shit that's going on now, or coming to light now. I shouldn't say it's happening now, coming to light now. But he was one of those that, like, in my journey of like here I am as a metalhead, he was one of the guys I got into hard. Marilyn Manson, just the aesthetic and all the stuff he was doing, I got into. Okay. But I remember, like, obviously he had that like any artist that kind of after the shock of Manson on the public kind of wore off and he wasn't as big as he once was in like the 90s and early 2000s. I obviously didn't, some of his later stuff I didn't get as into. And I remember when I was watching this again, I went in not knowing too much. I had no idea Marilyn Manson contributed a fucking song to which, again, now that we talk about, obviously what Keanu Reeves is, in the party, interesting that he had Manson do the song for this. Mm-hmm. But I remember when I heard it, I was sitting there going, is that Marilyn Manson I'm hearing? And like, now that was the one thing that was, me and my mom agreed with everything else. That's the one thing that because she obviously my parents could care less. I was like, I'm playing nudging her like, Mom, it's Marilyn Manson. It's the Marilyn Manson song in a John Wick movie. Oh my God. It just added to how much more I liked the film was hearing that. song. It was actually, honestly, even if you don't like Marilyn Manson, I promise you that's a really good song, honestly.
Yeah. Being involved in the John Wick franchise washes away any other sins that song might be connected to, as far as I'm concerned. It's a
Fair
John
enough.
Wick song first and a Marilyn Manson song second.
Yeah, and it's look, I'll say it's one of Marilyn Manson's better like later songs of his career. Like it's a really fucking good song.
Yes, indeed. Uh, Performance, the PSH. Who wins the movie?
Oh, easy. I didn't even have a contest on this one. And look, this is a franchise that to me doesn't have a single bad performance in any of the films. All phenomenal performances. I'm giving the first one to Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
And I have a feeling you probably put the same or you put someone different.
I did put somebody different, but I do
Okay.
agree that Keanu is killing it in this movie. It is the best performance of his career, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, having seen the most recent one and then watching this one, I didn't have time to rewatch all of them, so I didn't get to two and three. I would say I give it some in the first one. The sequels, I'm sorry, I will start looking at some of the other supporting players and our characters we have, but the first one I'm giving to Reeves. One, obviously, all the stuff we said. But yeah, I think it's absolutely the one of the best performances, if not the best performance of his career. And just the little stuff he does, but like you said, how he's able and I know obviously there's been memes and stuff about how he's not that great of an actor. No, I've never thought Reeves is an amazing actor, but he's always had such charisma, and usually he knows how to play within what works for him. He's never really bothered me like it does some people. And this is a case where he knew how to perform this, and people don't realize that he does a lot without saying. There's a lot of performing without saying a single word, and you understand everything. Like I said, that little scene I talked about when he is looking dead at Yosef and shoots the guy tells you everything. Doesn't have to say a fucking word. That just tells you everything. The chair scene, obviously. Um, the little things like with the exchange with the cop and the guard at the door. Like Keanu Reeves is absolutely selling the shit out of this movie, and he has a very interesting comedic timing too. That again, I know that doesn't get talked about a lot in all the films, but his character where the way he sometimes responds to stuff, it's like, okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, he brings it. He brings it in this movie. I think because he had a lot of input on the script and because he understood the character and could relate to some of the character's aspects better than like Neo or Ted or Harker from Dracula. Ugh.
So
But
let's come down on Ted. I actually really like Ted.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying like I feel like there's a more personal investment in John
Okay.
Wick for Keanu.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the rest are bad performances except for Harker. That was a bad performance, but don't cast Keanu as an Englishman. That's common sense. um, but yeah, I get why. Yeah, for sure, Keanu. I gave this to Michael Nickvist as
Okay.
Vigo
Okay.
because I just love the idea of a seasoned Russian gangster scared out of his mind and losing it the whole movie and just being completely out of control of the situation from the moment he gets introduced in the film. And he plays it so well. He plays it as just, especially at the end when he's on his way to the helicopter and John shows up and he just like breaks. He just starts laughing in the back seat of the car. He's like screwing with the guy asking for a gun. He's just like, fuck it.
Yeah,
I
he's like,
lost.
this guy is relentless. He's not stopping. He's a little high at this point. He's like, I don't care anymore.
What could I possibly lose? My son's dead. My empire's about to be crumbled. Who cares? What am I going to lose? You, like car insurance guy? What do I care? Yeah,
Yeah, no,
there's a great performance and a great like first villain for the franchise.
yeah, no, I'm with you on this one. He is really, really good in this. The moment, like you said, the moment he takes that phone call with Leguizamo, and you get a little bit of like the Russian boss to be scared when he's like, "I heard you struck my son. Care to explain?" That's the voice of like, "You better have a good explanation, or I'm sending people to your shop to kill you." And the moment he tells him what he did, well, yes, sir. He killed John Wick's dog and stole his car. And just that immediate one word, oh, and just hangs up. You're like, oh.
Yeah, the fear in his eyes as he walks down the stairs and he's like, he's not even looking at anybody. He just goes straight for the bar, opens a bottle of vodka. It's just like trying to comprehend what he just heard. Yeah, I wish I'd gotten to see him in more stuff. I gotta watch. He did a lot of Swedish films. He was a Swedish actor. I gotta look at some of his Swedish output.
Yeah, I still actually consider him one of the best villains in the franchise to this day. And this is a franchise that's been filled with great fucking villains, in my opinion. I still would rank him up high at the top.
Yeah, he's my favorite. Just because, yeah, he's the only one, the only bad guy in the whole franchise who's absolutely terrified of John Wick and fights him anyway.
Yeah, because all the other ones think they can finally be the ones to do it.
Santino's like, I own you, and the Allred cuisine guys like, I'm a big fan, and then the French guys like, I'm just French and mean. So, yeah, they all don't take him seriously. Vigo knows what he's seen what he can do.
Yeah, he's worked with them. That I love that they do that. He's like, yeah, like just be my hitman. I told him who to kill.
The whole impossible task was something he thought would never work, so he could deny John's request to leave, and then John goes and kills all of Vigo's enemies and makes him a player. He's like, well, okay, all right, you can go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that.
All right, well, I thought this would kill you, but you won, and I'm going to let you leave.
Yeah,
I'll be a man of my word.
I don't want to see what happens when I say no to you. The John Carpenter Award, best scene of the movie. I'm curious where you went with this.
All right, again, I had a lot of shit written down, dude. A lot. But aside to go, we've talked about quite a bit. I'm going to talk about some more because it's another scene that just gives me goosebumps because of how it plays out. And that is when Vigo is informing his son the type of person who John Wick is,
yep,
and who he truly fucked with.
Me too. I went with that as well.
Yeah, it did everything about this scene, right? The fucking dialogue in it, the music kicking in, the as he's telling us, mixing it with John going and getting his guns that he's had buried, like everything about this scene is just work. It's again the absolute best fucking character development hype for your personality. It makes you go, who is this guy? And when am I going to see all this in action? Because I need to see this play out. It's just a fucking flawless scene in a flawless movie.
Yeah. John Wick is the ultimate fuck around and find out movie. It really is. Yosef fucks around, and Vigo tells him, you're gonna find out. Yeah. You did this. There's no sympathy. There's no like, I'm gonna help you. It's you dug this hole. You did it to me. Yeah. The hug is like, fuck you. It's a fuck you hug. You never see that.
Yeah, you don't. Because it's not compassionate. He's just like, oh, no, you fucked up. The guy who was my hitman, who made me this empire, I let him out and you unleashed him on us. Why would you do that?
It is like, yeah, it's watching him just accept death before it's great. It's a great, it really just prepares you for what's to come. And we never see a reaction like this from anybody else in the franchise when it comes to John Wick. Everyone else thinks like, oh no, I'm important. I'll take him down. Vigo knew better.
Vigo was the only one that was shitting himself probably in that scene. Yeah. I love the little things he does, like give his son the drink so he can punch him and make him throw up. And then I clean that shit up and just throw a rag at him.
I love car insurance. Is like, Jesus, Vigo, when he punches him again.
Yeah.
Like, he tries to leave. He's like, no, you stay right there.
You stay. I like when you talk Vigo, English, just stay the fuck right there.
How does an advisor to a powerful Russian crime boss not speak Russian?
Oh yeah, dude. I've asked that as much as I'm like, why don't you know Russian, dude?
You'd think that would be like kind of the only, like one of the few things they'd be very adamant about. Like, don't be a cop and know how to speak the language.
Yeah. This, oh god, this scene. It has some of the best fucking lines from the movie. I know we've said a lot, but like, yeah, just and I love when the son's like, it's just, he thinks it's about the fucking deal he just went to go do and whatever in town. And he's like, this isn't about that, the business you did, son. It's about what you just did or what you're about to do or whatever the fuck he said.
it isn't. Oh, isn't it? It isn't what you've done that angers me so. It's who you've done it to. He's like,
Yes.
what, the
Yes.
fucking nobody? He's like, that fucking nobody
Nobody.
is John Wick. And just from there, we get the cut scene to John opening the basement door, and he's shrouded in darkness like the fucking boogeyman. It's done so well. It's such a great, just well cut together scene.
So I love as he's explaining, you start seeing it dawn on his son's face what the fuck he just did. Like even he's like, oh no.
But even after all of that, he's like, I can make this right. Like, I'm gonna finish what I started. And Vito's like, was he even fucking listening to me?
Yes. There is nothing you can do to fix this. John is a man of focus,
commitment, sheer will.
Things you are not.
Yeah, I love that. He's like, you can't even. You are so far removed from this man.
Yeah.
I love he takes a moment to insult his dipshit son. I love that.
Yeah, I do love that lower day. He goes, things you're not, son. And I'm like, oh man, he just insulted them in this.
Oh, fantastic. That was great. I love giving awards to John Wick. So let's see what some other people have to say. Let's go take a look at what's in the box.
What's in the fucking box? Give me the gun.
A lot of love for John Wick on Letterboxd.
I'll say there's gonna be some fucking contrarians in here, aren't there?
I grabbed only positive reviews.
Oh, thank God! I was like, I can't read negatives on this. I can't.
I couldn't find. I said it's a 3.8 out of 5, which tells me there's somebody on there who doesn't like this, but I couldn't find any. Everyone was like, "This is great."
I know one guy at work who claims he doesn't like it because it's so unrealistic, but he talked kindly about Fast and Furious, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this conversation.
So a GT can totally destroy a tank, but an assassin revenging his dog, that's too much.
Yes.
Okay. I'd love to hear what else this guy has trouble with, other films he finds unrealistic. This first one's from John, not John Wick. Maybe. I don't know.
John Wick is commenting on his own movie.
My primitive animal brain told me this was super fucking awesome and badass, while my critical and analytical brains told me the same exact thing. 4 stars. Yeah, the lizard brain and the analytical brain are both put that movie on.
Put it on, watch it, enjoy it.
Exactly. This next one's from Sophie. Perfectly reasonable and valid reaction to the murder of a puppy. You will live forever in my heart, Daisy. 3.5 stars. Yeah, you kill somebody's dog. This is what's going to happen. I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I love my dog highly, so try to fuck with my dog. Watch what happens.
This next one's from Danush. Willem Dafoe went from being Willem Defriend to being Willem Dafoe and then back to Willem Defriend again. Great fucking character arc is all I'm saying. 4 stars. I love that. Willem Defriend.
Oh, God.
Good stuff. Next, we got Dan McCoy. This is why I never became a Russian mobster. 4 stars. This.
He doesn't want to upset the Baba Yaga.
Nope, I get that. Yeah, you watch this, you're thinking about, I don't know, applying or however the hell you join the mob, and you're like, no, I don't think so. It's not worth it.
No, not the guy you send to kill the boogeyman. God, sorry, it's not a great line of dialogue there.
And this last one's from Felipe. This could have so easily been a lazy Taken ripoff. It could have easily been another flop in Keanu Reeves' then steadily declining career. Now every action movie wants to be like John Wick. And thank God, because as much as I love the Bourne movies, it was extremely painful to watch every action film try and fail to be like them. Incredible action, fascinating world building, and Keanu Reeves at his best. I want to inject the Red Circle nightclub scene straight into my veins. 4.5 stars. Goddamn.
Yeah, that's well said. That's well said.
There are so many ways this could have gone off the rails. Studio interference, or like, no, it's got to be more like Taken. Or maybe Keanu's not that invested. Maybe, they decide, maybe Air Miles guy decides not to put it on his credit card. So many things could have gone wrong, but everything that could have gone right did. And we got John Wick.
We got John Wick. We now have what is considered like one of the greatest action movie franchises of all time. A film that's redefined action cinema in the best way possible. Because I don't think I could live in a world where we just in America only believe in cut constantly during the action scene. And finally got scenes that are like, no, let's see these guys fight. Like that's the point of the action. We want to see them fight.
Want to see the punches land.
Yeah, so show it to me. So yeah, thank God, because God, I can't imagine a world without this in my life.
Same. This was a blast. This was really fun. So let's finish this off by ranking these fuckers worst to best. Worst being very subjective here. John Wick 1, 2, 3, and 4. What are you ranking?
Yeah, this was tough because this is a list that there is no worst. They are all really, really good.
Yes.
So I had a tough time. Actually, my first two I had pretty down. I was like, okay, yeah, these two. And then it was 4 and 3 where I was just sitting going like, what am I going to put for these two spots? But I figured it out. Number 4, and again, like you said, very subjective. Like I'll put it like this: John Wick 1's a perfect 10 out of 10 film. Every single sequel is a 9. All right. There is not a single film for me that dips below that at all. So on that note, with that said, for 4, I did put John Wick Chapter 2. Again, fucking for a film that I think, like you said, Colstead and they had probably no intentions at the time of like a sequel. So the fact that they were able to make something that flows seamlessly into this, expands the world, ups the fucking action to an exponential degree. Bravo. Like it honestly, it's its own little like luck story we could talk about with John Wick Chapter 2 alone. And that usually it's, oh, we did need a sequel, and then we get something that clearly wasn't planned, and it shows. But this was like wasn't planned and doesn't show. It's amazing how they pulled that off for John Wick Chapter 2. So that's number 4. Number 3, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Again, great world building, great characters, great fucking action. Out of the board, great action. Number 2, I put the new kid on the block. John Wick Chapter 4. This really, I agree with a lot of people, and I think this has some of the best characters in the series, some of the best action in the series. It does such a great job of being its own sort of conclusion in a way to the current run of films, and the influences. We didn't even talk about that quite too much. The influences from other, like from Asian cinema and international cinema in general with these sequels is on such good display, and getting someone like Donnie Yen, who was a fucking standout in Chapter 4. Holy shit, seeing Donnie Yen do his shit was amazing. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, don't let that almost fair runtime, scare you. You don't feel it. I promise you do not feel it. Fucking great movie. So John Wick Chapter 4, number 2. Then number 1, even though obviously it seems tame in comparison to its sequels now, but just because we talked about it being like this surprise, it came out of nowhere, wasn't expected to be this good, and it still holds a very special place in my heart. Number 1, the original John Wick.
Well said. Well argued. Yeah, it's hard to, they're all so great. There's no bad piece of this franchise. It's all great. So I had to get really petty with where I put my rankings here. Number 4 is John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, for the sole reason that they decided to add the subtitle Parabellum to the title. We don't need that.
It was weird because they didn't do it with Chapter 4 or 2, so it was like it's the only one that has it now.
I don't like that. It stands out, and it's weird, and it's hard to write the entire title on a single like line of whatever. So it's petty as hell. It's got nothing to do with the movie, but my number 4 is John Wick 3, Parabellum.
Okay.
And also, I think at the time I was expecting that to be the finale. So when it wasn't, I was like, huh, weird.
There was the marketing from them's been kind of weird with these later sequels in that they did kind of give off the hint that third one's gonna be the final one. And then when the way it ended, I was like, oh, I guess not. Because I went in also going like, okay, this is it. Like this is the last one in the trilogy. But then they leave it open for what we got with chapter 4. But then, weirdly enough, with chapter, without spoiling anything that happens in the film, they originally were going to do a chapter 4 and a chapter 5. And they haven't completely rolled out chapter 5, but then chapter 4 actually feels like a conclusion. That's where I'm like, then why even do 5? Just stick with the spinoffs. Like, if you want to do spinoffs, I'm cool with that. Like I said, I'm more down for the Ballerina spinoff and Ana de Armas kicking ass. Like, after seeing No Time to Die, yeah, give me more Ana de Armas kicking ass. I'm down with that. So it's been weird marketing. Like, third one, they marketed it as the last one, but it wasn't. And then this fourth one, they marketed it as a continuing chapter, but it feels like the last one and it, wrapping up the storylines.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what they're doing there. Number 3 is John Wick Chapter 4. It's awesome. It's long, but the pace does, like, you don't feel it. It's very well paced. I feel like there was a couple long-term like teases that didn't get paid off, which was weird. Like there was the Aurelia with the car, and then also Winston with the marker.
Winston with the marker.
Remember at the end of 2, Winston gives John a marker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Am I blind? Did they ever address that again?
I don't think they really talked about it now.
Yeah. But it's really cool. It's got some great scenes, great sequences, great story, great character building, and it's just awesome. Number 2 is number 2, chapter 2. I love the character of Santino D'Antonio and how massive a piece of shit he is. Just the weaselly little bastard, and how he manipulates the Continental to be his like safe haven and all that. I love Franco Nero being the manager of the Rome Continental, and he asks John, like, "Are you here for the Pope?" I love that line. Yeah, 2 is a fun movie, and then of course number 1 is the original John Wick. Nothing's topping that. Like you said, it's surprise. It's the less is more. It's a very self-contained story and endlessly rewatchable.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's our rankings of the John Wick franchise.
Yeah. A franchise that to me just has not had a single weak link. Now, obviously jury's out with these spinoffs coming out, but hey, you know what? If a spinoff's weak, whatever. The main franchise has stayed strong. I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was a blast. Yeah, this was fun.
Oh, yeah. I've been dying to talk about John Wick on the podcast. I'm so glad this. I've been dying to watch the 4th one after it got delayed like a whole year. So like, thank God, here we are finally. Because God, I was texting people as I was watching it, and just being like, God, I love this movie so much. Like,
me too, man. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you like the show, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Filmgazm Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgazm@gmail.com or send us a message through the socials. Check out our Letterboxd accounts for daily reviews. You can search me at Connor95, and in my friends list, you can find the rest of the team. Check out our website, filmgazm.com, where I have a link to that Letterboxd if you want to read the reviews. And you can also find articles, trailers of upcoming films in every episode of our show. If you'd like to become a monthly donor to Filmgazm Productions, feel free to click on the link in the episode description. From there, click on Support This Podcast. You can choose to donate $1 a month if you like us, $5 a month if you love us, or $10 a month if you can't live without us. All donations go right back into the podcast, and we appreciate any donations you think we might deserve. Thanks to the entire Filmgazm team for their constant friendship and contributions to the show. Caleb Leger, Austin Johnson, Josh Allred, Colton Jenkins, Cristian Aguilar, Isabel Gonzalez, Jeremy Johnson, Adam Johnson, and Mysia Pierce-Lewis. Thanks to Cooley Cow for our awesome theme music, and thanks to you for checking out our show. Don't break into anyone's house, kill their dog, and steal their car, because you never know what they used to do for a living. Take it easy, keep watching movies, and we'll see you next week.